Hey guys, welcome to Game Changer. Today we're sitting down with former NFL athlete and the 2008 Mr. Irrelevant in the NFL Draft, David Vobora. Today we'll talk about his mindset during and after his career and how he used the lessons he learned in the NFL to help run Adaptive Training Foundation. I can't wait for y'all to take a listen.
I'm excited to sit down with you.
Me too. I'm super excited.
You got some really killer questions.
I think so.
Some hard ones.
Yeah. For sure.
So tell me about the Game Changers podcast.
So this is just kind of sitting down talking with former professional athletes is kind of where the idea started, but kind of took the turn where I wanted to do really just everyday people that changed the game for everyone. People like youth pastors and volleyball coaches, dance teachers, people like that who just really shift a mentality for me and for everyone.
Well, I'm honored to be your first guest and to have you here at Adaptive Training Foundation, my gym, but I'm sure we'll jump into that. I'll let you start us off.
Hey, so welcome to Game Changer. I'm super excited that you're here. Tell us a little bit about you. Who is David Vobora?
Who is David Vobora? Well, wow, that's a big question. I think at different times in my life, I'd probably answer that differently. Today I'm a husband, I'm a father of 3. Been married for 13 years. My beautiful wife, shout out to Sarah. I'm her 4th kid, by the way. Her whole job is just keeping me alive. But then I have 3 kids, 12, 10 are both little girls, and then little man, Fieldy, is 5. So excited about being a dad first and foremost, but I'm a former NFL player. I was drafted Mr. Irrelevant. I was the last pick in the 2008 draft, which is the title that they give to that player. Made the team, became a starter, had a 5-year NFL career between the Rams and the Seahawks. And then when I transitioned, I had some struggles. I think I worked my whole life to become the identity that was David Vobora, the football player. And then when I got injured, the spiral was sort of, how do I take this armor off and who am I without football?
Yeah.
And so those struggles were, I always say, the catapult being all the way pulled back and springing me into what I've been doing for the last 11 years, which is serving people with disabilities, mostly veterans and first responders, at the Adaptive Training Foundation gym here in Texas, where we provide cost-free training, but it's really about the community, the tools, and the habits as they come through this process to help redefine their lives.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So what was your mentality like stepping into your first training camp with being the last pick in the NFL draft?
I was drafted in the NFL. You can call me Mr. Anything you want. I was so, achieved a lifelong dream. So, I think being able to get your foot in the door and just have an opportunity to earn the place and earn the spot was key. So for me, it was probably a week into rookie camp, and our rookies, so the veterans, the older players, they make you do different things, like they haze you a little bit. Back then especially they hazed you, make you sing at dinner, fun, stupid stuff. Well, we had daily doubles. Back then you wore pads both practices, and it was really, your pads were still sweaty in the afternoon when you put them on for the second practice. It was not the most fun. But I'd have these older players that would have grocery lists, and we had our training camp in Wisconsin, even though we were playing in St. Louis. It was just cooler out there. So I'd have to drive on my break. Like everyone else was resting, putting their feet up, getting in the ice bath, getting recovered. In between practices, I would have to drive to find a Whole Foods like 40 minutes away, get all these things for these guys and make it back. There was times where I left my practice pants on and went and shopped. So the welcome to the NFL was, hey Rook, you're gonna have to grind it out and do all the things, and guess what? Even though you're tired, no one cares.
Yeah.
So it was cool for me though to find a way for the mindset to just always have the chip on my shoulder. I always felt like the underdog and felt like somebody that through hard work and stuff between the ears, I could develop more and achieve more.
Was there a time that once you kind of got fully into the game, was there a time you realized you were like, this, I do really belong here? And then was there a time that you doubted yourself?
Great questions. I remember in a preseason game, we were playing a really, really fast running back. And I swear, as I went to tackle him, I had him. And then all of a sudden, it was like a ghost, nothing. And he just took off. And I remember that was in a preseason game my rookie year thinking, wow, they're really fast. Thinking like, you can't think about, oh, the game's so much faster, you just have to adapt. And in that case, I was like, whoa, like these guys are at a whole nother level. So there was a welcome to the NFL kind of moment. But then later that year, I remember getting in to my first ever game in the NFL playing at linebacker. I'm a middle linebacker. My childhood hero, quarterback Brett Favre, is on the other, across the ball, playing quarterback, and he's making checks, I'm making checks. It was like real life Madden. And I remember I played really well, and I remember sort of that being like this, oh, wait a second. Like, I put these people on a pedestal, I see them as my heroes and these amazing giants of men, and they're human too. And that was a moment where I was like, man, maybe I do belong. Maybe I can live here and do some things.
Yeah, for sure. You faced some injuries going through your NFL career.
Sure.
How did you handle your physical aspect of recovery, but also your mental aspect?
I think in football, there wasn't a ton of time for the mental. It was sort of just figure out any way to find a way back on the field. I mean, it's inherent in the game of football, being as violent as it is, that there's going to be injuries. Yet they're still playing through pain. So the old saying, you ever heard the saying that there's a difference between pain and injury, right? There's a lot of playing through pain, maybe even playing through some injuries. For me, I was never on a big contract or, the guy that felt like I had real job security. So this kind of plays into the mental. For me, it was, I couldn't let anybody else get in the game if I was hurt or otherwise, because they could take my spot.
Yeah.
And so there was this incessant sort of feeling like a shark in the water that if you stop swimming, you're going to get eaten. I couldn't really turn it off. And so for me, mentally, I think I've learned a lot since football about using breath work, mindfulness, meditation, even just getting still, getting quiet, and just allowing yourself to ground and just feel. It was like, unless it was watching film or getting a massage or doing some stretching or doing I had to be doing something, or else I felt like someone was going to pass me by. And so playing through injury, I think, gave me a lot of mental resilience, capacity to feel pain, but not allow it to dictate what I could or couldn't do. I think that served me really well. But at the same time, it's also made me, kind of the extreme of that spectrum is, it's made me, if I have a workout, let's say, on a Wednesday morning, sometimes if it's not like a soul-crushing workout, I don't feel like I got a good workout.
Yeah.
Which isn't always the case, right? Like, there's a time and a place to have and move your body without the need of feeling like you're crushing your soul to get it done. But I think a lot of that's embedded in the programming or the behaviors from football, where it was like, more is more, moderation's for cowards, like you just got to go all in, and I don't really have a halfway. It's either I'm all the way in on whatever I'm doing, or I'm all the way out.
Do you think that mindset kind of helped you push, when an injury or a pain would have sidelined another player, helped push you to be on the field?
I think so, yeah. I think it drove me. I played once with a high-low ankle sprain. They told me 4 to 6 weeks. I came back in 2. I put numbing cream, I taped it, I wrapped it, I braced it. They gave me an injection of God knows what. We went out to play the Kansas City Chiefs, and right as the game started, I'm finally getting warm where I can kind of forget about the leg. It was at 50%, but I had to make the team.
Yeah.
And the lightning storm came in and the game got delayed. So now you're getting cold again, and now you feel the pain. You're all the more alert to it, but ended up going out, having a great game, and it was crazy. We talk about NFL, cutthroat nature of the business of pro sports. We had a 45-minute flight from Kansas City, Missouri, back to St. Louis, Missouri, and the front office they were cutting guys. They were walking up down the aisle of the plane, and they were looking at guys and going, "Hey, you're gone." And guys are tearing up. I mean, these are people's livelihood and their whole life that they work for. And I just remember being like, man, it's that quick. Like they're, shaking your hand, smiling, and you're friends with them, and then all of a sudden, when they're done with you, they're done with you. So it was definitely a big wake-up call.
Yeah. What was your transition like after the NFL? You've talked about kind of the identity crisis that comes
Yep.
with it. What was that for you?
Yeah, I think, for me, like I said, I grew up in church. Faith has always been a big component of my life, in my family's life. I think, I was baptized. I gave my life to Christ when I was in 6th grade, and it's the greatest decision I ever made. But I think through, I don't know. I say this. I had a Savior, but the Lord of my life was football, and so that's a slippery slope. I think when you again, to have salvation is one thing, but to live and walk guided by kind of God's voice, I don't think I was living that way. And not to say his hand wasn't on me and blessing me greatly through my football career, but football was my idol. Yeah. And so when that came crashing down as a result of the injury, really bad shoulder injury, that made me question everything. Because it was like, well, what do I grab a hold to that makes me feel safe or makes me feel like I matter? Because at some point the lights go out and you're not as relevant, maybe, fun play on words there with Mr. Irrelevant, as maybe you thought you were. And so I think that transition, although I do call it probably my lowest bottom, I was addicted to pain medication. I was just numbing myself more than anything. That led me to a really desperate, dark place where I just really sought God, and I think I rediscovered that He hadn't changed or moved. It was me that had kind of drifted. And so as I sort of came back, it was, you talk about stories like the prodigal son, or I just felt like God was refining me, and it gave me this perspective that what I had done in football, I was going to repurpose for some good. Yeah. And little did I know where that would take me, but I sort of just trusted that, hey man, if He's answered all these things in the past in the ways that I could have never imagined, well, He can answer this stuff too, and just trust in that.
So, with that shift, tell us a little bit, what inspired you to start ATF?
It wasn't a thinking choice. It wasn't oh my gosh, this sounds like this would be a great opportunity to put my whole life and purpose into something. It was the gym for me, moving to Texas from Orange County, California, starting the gym, training athletes, training elite tier 1 military operators. It felt like the locker room. I loved that, and I loved being able to hopefully help share some perspective of what I'd gone through, so that maybe others could avoid the similar scars of having like a rock bottom in a drug detox center, right? But really, it was a chance encounter with a quadruple amputee, Staff Sergeant Travis Mills, served in the Army, was an airborne soldier in the Army. And it was at a birthday party for a friend, and I walked right up to Travis when I saw him. I really don't have any recollection of me being like, I need to talk to this guy. It was like this magnetic pull. I saw him. I was amazed at how he was moving on his prosthetics, and I just walked right up to him and I said, when was the last time you worked out? And he said, I don't want to make you feel like an idiot. I don't have arms and legs. What do you mean work out? I said, well, I realize your body looks different, but why can't you still develop your physical, even though it may take some adaptive ways? And he was like, oh, you know amputees, you work with amputees, you have experience. And I was like, bro, you're the first amputee I've ever met. Yeah. And it just happened to be a quadruple amputee, which is wildly rare, by the way. Like 5 living combat injured quadruple amputees. We've had some other quadruple amputees come through here for other various reasons, but specifically a bomb goes off and there's only been 5 that have lived with those type of catastrophic injuries. So bringing him in, one of the first things I asked him was, what are you most afraid of? I graduated with my degree at the University of Idaho in psychology. Psychology is definitely like the fibers of how I see the world. And he said falling. And he's a tough guy. It wasn't really the fear of hitting the ground. It was the fear of him falling like in a parking lot, say, or somewhere where no one could help him, or strangers would have to help him and they didn't know how. And so it was really the fear of embarrassment. Yeah. And so where did we start? We started with falling. We practiced falling, and we started to desensitize that in a way where, like a good martial artist, they use the momentum of their opposition sort of to their favor. He would suddenly, bounce and roll off the ground and learn how to kind of gain leverage and spring himself out of it. And I think that was empowering. pretty soon he's doing 100-pound sled pulls, and all of my NFL players that I'm training at the time, they no longer can complain that their pinky toe was sore.
Yeah.
You know, it's wild when you work with people that, you know, have probably every justifiable right to say no, but they decide to say yes, and then that perspective shift that it grants everybody who witnesses it is really, really special.
I believe that obviously like God, everything is His will, and that so what was your kind of like, did you have a moment where you're like, God is calling me to this person, like this is what God wants me to do?
Yeah, I remember exactly where I was sitting in my car in Garland, Texas, and I had been given a business card to this Navy SEAL, Clint Bruce, which is where it was his surprise birthday where I met Travis Mills, and this whole thing sparked. And Clint ended up, I ended up calling Clint, and he was the one who gave me space, rent-free, to start my gym inside of his Navy SEAL security warehouse. And gosh, was that a huge head start, man. That was just huge. And I remember, like, I prayed to God. I said, God, if this is what you want me to do, make it laughably clear. And God shut up. It was like, next thing. It was just coming in waves that I couldn't even manage. And it was clear to me that God's hand was behind this.
Yeah.
And, I eventually had to make the decision to close the for-profit gym, to be all in on this nonprofit, which I thought, we'll just start a nonprofit. That seems really easy.
Yeah.
I counsel anyone, not as easy as you think. But 11 years later, I think I've learned so much, and I've been so grateful for so many mentors and coaches and people that have poured into me, to include your dad. Amazing. Clint is the man, and your mother as well, just your whole family. Those are the type of, I think, God-anointed relationships and community that I just feel like there's such favor and such blessings in. So yeah, I think that moment in the car when God had me call Clint and me to pray, make it laughably clear, suddenly the dominoes were just and I was just trying to hold on and do my best to be a good steward of what God was putting in front of me. And if anything else, the thing I'd say that I get a lot of things wrong all the time. But if there's one that I've gotten right, it's to love people. To love people in a way that's maybe a little reckless or maybe a little bit uncommon, for the sake that that's how God loves us. And I'm not going to do it perfectly. I'm not here to save anyone. I'm not that powerful. God is God, so I don't have to be. But for me to be able to just have compassion for people and call them to a version of themselves maybe that they don't believe is in there, and then help pave the road or walk the road with them to watch them become and be that person.
And I would say that you truly do embody that. You embody like what it means to love like Christ. Like,
thank you.
Especially to my family, like you've done so much for us and like everything. I mean, helping me start this and like the mentorship and just kind of leading a path through like with everybody. It's just.
Well, thank you. And I can tell you, it's that times a million that you guys have done for us in here for sure. And that's, I think that's real community. It's I think people, this isn't a overtly branded, Christian organization, although, we believe that there's only one who truly restores hope. And so I think that just doing life with people, you got to earn their trust and live out what it means to kind of imperfectly try to become more like Christ every day. Yeah. And that's taken some really difficult times. It's had a lot of moments. We've lost, a number of people here through our community, and it always, you can go two directions when you lose someone. You can say, all right, that hurts. I'm no longer going to love people that deeply, and I'm just going to become jaded. Mm-hmm. Or you can say, man, that one really hurts, but it was all the more validation of how much I love them and how special that relationship was. And I think that's why I try to focus on the latter today, which is, I don't know when my time is coming, so I'm going to try to live well and be present with whoever's right in front of my face.
What did your perspective shift of what it meant from being in the NFL to like what strong was in the NFL, from now what strong is here in the gym? Did your perspective like shift?
These are such good questions, Brad. I'm impressed. It absolutely has, and it continues to shift. I think, I'm nearing 40 years old now, which is wild. But if I think about kind of like, this half of life compared to kind of the half of life that I'm entering, I would say Strength to me today is much more about vulnerability and allowing emotion to be expressed, to be totally human. I think that's really the goal. It's like in football, there was a part of you that sort of, actually I'll use this analogy. Remember the fidget spinners?
Yeah.
So if you have a fidget that's got 3 circles and a middle circle, it spins on an axis. And if it's properly balanced, it spins for a long time. But if, let's say on that fidget, you had one bubble that was physical strength, one that was mental, and one that was emotional. If you're only focused on the physical and not really the mental and emotional, so this one's really big and these ones are small, when you spin it, it's not going to be balanced, right? It'll be quick before it, or pretty quickly it will stop. So in football, that was what I was doing. I was focusing on the physical, the mental and emotional only if it had to do with making me a better football player.
Yeah.
But it wasn't me looking at myself as a total human and looking at how I was elevating everything. And I think that the spiritual bubble for sure was kind of left omitted. So anyway, I'd say strength today to me is about recognizing when fear shows up, and then realizing that when real fear shows up, that's when you can access real courage. And through that, the vulnerability that it takes to speak up and to ask for help maybe, and to maybe say, hey, I'm not doing so good right now. That's the real measure, in my opinion, of true strength.
So kind of with that emotional aspect, what's a story from ATF that kind of still gets you emotional to tell today?
Oh man, I love this one, and you know her very well, but Michaela Noble, Prosper cheerleader, world champion cheerleader, was in a backyard cheer stunt, practicing, before a homecoming game, and the flip, she doesn't make it around, she lands on her neck and breaks her neck, becomes a quadriplegic in an instant, and she had a scholarship to go to OU to cheer, and her whole life all of a sudden just, seemingly taken. But talk about faith. Talk about a young lady who just emits the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, and the Spirit of God. When she came through our program here at Adaptive Training Foundation, she crawled from one side of the gym. Maybe you can drop in the video for your audience here, but she crawled from one end of the turf to the other, which is 30, 40 yards, and it took her more than 20-25 minutes. So imagine if I put two cinder blocks tied off to your feet and only let you use your arms to army crawl across the turf. Her elbows are bleeding. Eventually she gets down there, and there's a bell on this side of the wall here at the gym, and it's called the breakthrough bell. And it signifies when a no becomes a yes or a goal is met, the athlete goes over and rings that bell, and the whole place goes nuts, because nothing cooler than celebrating your friends, right? And Michaela got up under that bell and rung it, and the whole gym had come around her, and it just erupted. And to me, that was a remarkable and extraordinary moment of someone that, I played with some really gritty athletes, some tough people, but that young lady is one of the grittiest, toughest, no quit, and that was truly inspiring. I think my hope for anybody that checks out Adaptive Training Foundation online or follows us is that inspiring side of what they see, that they ask themselves, what can I aspire to be as a result of witnessing this? I certainly have had moments where I've wanted to quit in a marathon or in a race or in some type of workout, but thinking about athletes like Michaela makes me go, oh man, you got more to do.
Did you consider that a game-changing moment for this gym?
Definitely a game changer. There's game-changing moments every day in here. Yet I also think that it's not always the big ones. It's not always the ones that are maybe positioned even on social media. It could be two athletes connecting after a workout and exchanging numbers and meeting up on the weekend, and that very well may save somebody's life. That's in a dark pit and had been isolating. So, yeah, game-changing moments. I think if you take nothing away from this conversation, take this. Game-changing moments are happening all the time. We just have to tune into them. Yeah. And we can look for the opportunity to seize those as well. it's amazing when I pull up to people that are homeless that are usually begging for money on the side of the road. Before I'll give them a couple of bucks or give them a little pack that we put together that we keep in our car that the kids like to give out. We look them in their eyes, right? We ask them what their name is, where they're from, what their last job was. Maybe if they have a dog, what's your dog's name? But engage with those people not out of sympathy or pity, but as a human.
Yeah.
Look them in their eyes and treat them like a whole person. There's a line that I say often in here. It's if you treat people broken, they act broken. Look someone in their eyes and treat them whole. That person shows up. And so I think that to be a game changer, it doesn't take playing in the NFL. It doesn't take having some big qualifying resume. And just kind of start where you are, with what you have, maybe with what excites you, and use it to help empower and equip somebody else. That's good living.
Yeah, for sure. And going off of that, who was a game changer for you? Someone who, it was a coworker, teammate, athlete, coach even. Who changed the game for you and made you who you were?
There's such a incredible list of game changers in my life: mentors, friends, coaches. I would say, going back to that Navy SEAL, Clint Bruce, not only giving me the space to start my gym, but all of his mentorship. I tried to get to the gym tried to beat him there as often as I could, where I could be sitting in his office when he came in and just share 15, 20 minutes with him in the mornings. He has this ability to sort of drop, I call them fortune cookie lines, but little things of wisdom that you just get it, write it down. I think identifying someone that has something that you feel like you want to embody, and then shadowing them or asking them for mentorship, studying them, is a great way to, and maybe maybe that's a 6-month period or a year long, and then you look for the next kind of person, and that's part of this process. Is you don't want to only focus on one area, but kind of broadening it and allowing different key game changers to come into your life. But Clint always has this ability of reframing, knowing that we approach things in a similar fashion. He always says, Dave, you don't do normal well. Stop trying to be normal. And what he means is stop trying to do it like other people do it, because you're not like other people. And that's really empowering. And it takes someone that's achieved. He was a captain at the Naval Academy, played football briefly in the NFL, but was a Navy SEAL for a number of years, an officer, Team 5. And that is someone that I just had a deep respect for. So anything that he said, I really hung on every word.
Yeah. So something you say a lot, you're not defined by what you have lost, but what you have left.
Mm-hmm.
What is, for somebody if somebody listening, what is something they can use, how can they achieve that mindset?
Yeah, I think it's just believing that everything in life happens for you. And you don't have to believe in a specific type of faith, in my opinion, but the idea of a higher power is a critical component, in my opinion, to that perspective shift. What we do at the Adaptive Training Foundation is the perfect picture. It's okay, you're missing this limb or this whatever, you can't do that. Okay, well, we want to fire this. Well, what is a way to still get that to fire in a unorthodox or innovative approach? And I do the same thing in my life. So it's sort of, first of all, it's prayerful surrender to God, trusting Him in the difficulty. And then it's the idea that there's a way to adapt and solve this, and I'm not as far away as I think. A lot of people, I think, sensationalize an emotion and they make it permanent. It's like people when someone says, I am depressed, I would say, hey, an I am statement like that can be dangerous, meaning I feel depressed, because you're putting a permanency. I am depressed, or I am depression, right? Or I am fill in the blank, whatever that emotional feeling state is. And it puts this, very kind of complex, finite way for you to view yourself, rather than looking at yourself as, man, I am immeasurably powerful. With God, I can do all things. Where can I stop looking at this through my own human understanding and start to look at it from what God is doing for me and refining me to grow into the type of person that He's called me to be while I'm still on this side of heaven?
So picture yourself years from now. What if you...
Probably extra gray.
What do you hope that people remember about your legacy that you've built through all of for Adaptive Training Foundation through NFL? What do you hope that people remember?
I think first I'd say for my kids, I hope that they've grown up around this, right? They ask for wheelchair Barbie, or they'll rip Barbie's leg out if they have Barbie and make them like their friends at the gym. But I hope that my kids have witnessed me being compassionate to people and not looking away from somebody that's had difficulty or is in pain. But I think for the rest of the world or anybody else, I hope that people remember how I made them feel. And my hope in that is that made them feel a little lighter, made them feel like it wasn't so impossible. Just gave them this moment or key moments where they gave themselves a permission slip that they wouldn't have granted themselves otherwise. That really fires me up. It's this empowering others to take on their own fears and grow through their own difficulties. That's really, I think, the legacy.
So looking forward, what's next for you and for ATF? What's our next big plan?
Well, the next big plan is cool. It's actually, I need to take a lesson of what I'm saying here to myself, which is the transition sort of that I'm in right now. We just put our 33rd class through our flagship 9-week Redefine course here. We bring them to Texas, we house them, we train them, we feed them. Then they graduate, we take them on a week-long trip called Redeploy, and it's adaptive skiing or snowboarding or surfing or mountain biking, depending on the time of year. But this past class was filmed as part of a docuseries. So we are now working to shop that. Hopefully we can grab Netflix or Amazon or one of the big dogs. But I'm working on my role shifting from being here in the gym, day-to-day operations with the athletes, more focused on selling this docuseries. Because I think that the world is going to be, immeasurably impacted by these people's stories and their will to fight and their will to persevere and just the resilience that they've built. And then second to that, I'm raising a bunch of money to build this new $20 million campus for the gym. And we're about $10 million raised right now, hopefully start breaking ground next year. So I'm sort of transitioning out of the CEO role and the role with the athletes more to my role as true founder, focusing on those two projects, the campus and the docuseries. And in between, I'll continue doing my Life After podcast, which check it out, follow, subscribe. But I think it's come to a place now where this is interesting. As a founder, I think it's critical until you sometimes become the bottleneck. And they call it founder syndrome in a lot of different ways, but it's this feeling like, actually Clint Bruce, the Navy SEAL, said this to me once and it still sticks, and I know it's true. It says, a great leader is somebody that's built something that they're building for someone else to pass on to someone else. And I think it's perfect timing for me in my life, so I can, again, be really present for my family and my kids' lives and their goals and their dreams. But also just put this project or put this mission onto a project like the campus where there's sustainability for the next 50, 200 years.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I kind of have two more questions for you, but they kind of tie together, but I'm going to ask them separately because I want kind of two different answers.
Okay.
What is one thing that you would tell to young athletes today to help overcome challenges and just kind of help with the mental and physical aspect of whatever they're doing?
Yeah, I think the first thing would be aware of the language that you're speaking to yourself, that narrative in your head. We all have this voice in our head, and I know in football there was a lot of, you suck, go harder, right? This kind of slave driver mentality, and I think it worked to get me to a place, but it couldn't work to get me beyond it. And in the case of football, it led to a lot of sort of destruction. Yeah. And so I believe that the between the ears is the real thing that gives you the edge. I mean, these days, there's so much talent. There's so many people doing amazing training programs and really elite training pathways. But the thing that's the between the ears is if you can answer this, I'll use an example with me. David with football was blank. However I'd fill that in. David without football is blank. There's a difference and who I am based around what I do, then there's a slippery slope or an identity crisis. Like, there's a trap in that. Again, I ask people, you tell me where your power is, and I'll tell you the quickest way to pull the rug out from you, right? So I think it goes back to who's your identity outside of sport. Simone Biles took the Olympics off, and people ridiculed her for it and otherwise, and then she ends up coming back as a totally better person because now all of a sudden she is who she is in her own skin, and then performs incredibly, of course, and wins and otherwise. So I think that you can't let the world dictate. With social media especially, everybody loves, some likes and new followers and the attention. But if you're chasing the extrinsic, validation or worth that other people put on you, then you're in a really scary position for, if that comes crashing down, who are you then? And I think that athletes today, those that really get it, are like, man, I'm David first. This is who David is, no matter what I'm doing or what arena I'm playing in. And then, by the way, I just so happen to have the talent to play in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm just that cool that I also can play in the NFL.
Well, I don't know about cool. Maybe just driven enough to never quit.
Yeah. So, what is your advice for me as somebody who wants to make this my career in sports media, but also I am still someone who is in school. I start my first day of school tomorrow, and I have first volleyball game tomorrow, and still doing all that stuff. What's your advice for me?
I'd say you're doing it. And there's a quote that says, interested people are interesting people. So you're curious. Curiosity, I think, is a trait for anyone, no matter what discipline or industry pathway they're trying to take. A curiosity to ask good questions. And you've asked some great questions. My kids, when I drop them off at school, the last thing I say is ask good questions. Because I've never been the most talented or the smartest, but through asking good questions, I could catch up to those that were maybe more talented and just figured, or they assumed that they knew. So I'd say you're doing it already. The one thing I'd say on top of that is be bold. What's the worst that someone could say? No? Reach out to your moonshot pod guests, and at the same time, have that conversation with, the volleyball coach or the cheer coach that means a lot to you. Like those all, and I think in today's day and age, people want the big names for the clicks and stuff, but some of the most connectable messages are, more of an everyday kind of average person. And I don't mean that they're average, inherently. I just mean that their name and their story may not be well known. Yeah. So ask good questions, be curious, and then be bold and shoot for the moon.
Great. Okay, now it's time for the fun stuff.
Oh boy.
We're gonna ask some fun stuff kind of about your football career, but also some trivia questions because I know the answer to them. I don't know if you will.
Okay.
Hopefully you will.
All right.
It would prove your work,
your intellect.
And your NFL career. But okay, what was your pregame? Did you have a pregame hype song?
Gosh, I'm so old, you guys. I'm trying to even think what music was big. I would say a pregame hype song. Well, Phil Collins, "In the Air of the Night" is no matter what. The cool part about every stadium in the pregame, they all play Phil Collins, "In the Air of the Night," and when that drum solo, it just look goosebumps right there. Still works. Thank you, Phil.
Real. Did you have a weird superstition,
So
ritual that you did?
Girl, I would be walking from the bus in the stadium, and weird things there was a rock, and I felt this notion I should kick it, and I walked past it, and then I would double back and come back and kick the rock because I was superstitious. I would try to do, you'd have your amazing, great game, and then you're like, I have to do everything exactly right. These underwear, this exact thing, I'm very methodical. When I was in high school, I would lay out everything the night before, college, similar. I'd have this sort of just the standard operating procedures that you want to be so mechanical about your processes that nothing seems out of whack that could kind of throw you. You just sort of get into this flow state. All the way down to when you use the bathroom, before the game, and you got to time all these things. and you get really good at it. The problem, though, sometimes with superstition is you can get a little bit tense if something does get disrupted. And so you have to be malleable, allowing that, hey man, there's no thing that says, oh, I had an orange 5-hour energy and not a grape one.
Yeah.
And oh, now everything, before you've even played the game, oh, now I can't, everything's screwed up. Like, you have to allow for a little bit of flexibility. But yeah, big time into rituals and routines. There's little things that I do, like prayers that I would pray during the national anthem. That's another one for me. That I just take it all in. There's nothing quite like being there right before the NFL game kicks off. But I would be saying certain prayers during that national anthem too. That was another one of mine.
I was kind of the same way. I still am. Since we have 2 volleyball games a week, we have Tuesdays and Thursdays. So Tuesdays have one ritual and Thursdays have the other. And if they get messed up, I do get upset, but it's okay. Game usually goes as normal.
Yeah.
But it's hard to flip.
Is what's the difference in Tuesday and Thursday, just out of curiosity?
Tuesdays are away games and Thursdays are home games. So Tuesdays I have bus. I sit in the same spot with the same person, and I wear the same hairstyle, and I listen to the same music when we're 5 minutes away. And then home games, I sit in the locker room for 30 minutes before I go out, and then I set up the net in a certain way, and if it's tied and not a certain way,
that's awesome. And
I set my water bottle under a specific chair. But if there's ever a time where we have, which is really rare, if there's ever a time that we switch our home game and away game, which usually doesn't happen, but there's usually one a season, then it throws me for a loop. I'm like, what do I do today?
Yeah.
This isn't the right.
Yeah. But it doesn't necessarily affect.
No, it doesn't usually.
You just kind of fall into it.
Yeah. Okay, was there ever a toughest opponent or team you faced in your NFL career?
I mean, every team in the NFL has talent, and the margin of there's a few world beaters on every team. I think about when I was with the Seahawks. There's Marshawn Lynch and there's Russell Wilson and there's these guys. But I think one of the hardest teams that we always had to face twice a year was in our conference. We played in the NFC West, so it was the Rams, the 49ers, the Seahawks, and the Cardinals. And at that time, the 49ers specifically had a legendary running back. He's up for the Hall of Fame next year, but Frank Gore is his name. He's a short little squatty dude. And their offensive linemen were I swear, all 6'10", 325 pounds. And they ran power football, so right down your throat. And he'd get the ball, but he could just hide back there. And it was so strong in his lower body that when he did hit you, it would be you can't see him. And all of a sudden it was boom, you got hit with the freight train. And he would just truck his legs. And man, I remember hitting him a couple of times and feeling just all of the air leave my chest cavity. Just, and you get the wind knocked out of you, you're like. So yeah, the Niners were tough. It was also cool though because I grew up a 49ers fan.
Yeah.
So it was fun to go into those stadiums. That time it was Candlestick Park, the old Niners stadium, which is a pretty legendary one. But the Niners games were always one that, as a linebacker, I was like, okay, this is going to be a grind.
Yeah, I love the 49ers, specifically Brock Purdy. He's pretty good.
Shout out to Brock Purdy, another one for the brand, Mr. Irrelevant. He's done okay. He's done pretty good. Okay, some trivia questions. What?
These ones are fun, I promise. Okay, can you name there's only 5, the 5 NFL teams that have red, white, and blue in their logo?
Patriots, Texans. Oh, the Colts don't have red. Red, white, and blue. Come on. Giants. Titans. Oh, who's the last one?
There's one more.
Who's the last one?
It's a pretty good team.
Pretty good team.
Pretty good team.
Bills. We got it.
That one's
Good thing there wasn't a timer on that. But.
Yeah.
All right, that was a hard one.
That one's hard. Okay, this was super easy. Well, I think it's easy. There's one NFL team that has 8. Their team name is 8 syllables long. Do you know what it
8
is?
syllables long. I gotta clap it out. It is high attention.
This one took me a little bit.
I was gonna say Jacksonville Jaguars, but it's not Jacksonville.
No, you're wrong.
Hold on, give me a second.
It's a pretty good team.
Pretty good team.
I would give you their conference, but it's gonna completely give it away.
Is it?
Yeah.
You got me stumped.
We were just talking.
The Niners? That's it? Okay, San Francisco. Yeah, San Francisco. I know, I was thinking, like, who's the longest city,
Yeah.
the longest mascot or team
Yeah.
name? All right.
Okay,
San
this
Francisco
is probably
Niners.
the hardest
Got me.
question. This took me at least 30 minutes,
Oh, gosh.
and I don't think I even remember the answer.
You know your sports really well, too.
Yeah, it's fun. I love it. Okay, this one kind of goes over. It goes over all pro sports teams, but only like Big Four.
Okay.
So like not like some little lacrosse
NHL,
team.
NBA, MLB, NFL.
Yes.
Okay.
Can you name the 6 pro teams that have the same name?
6 pro teams that have
So
the
like
same
it could be like a
name.
football and a hockey team.
Yes.
Or like a baseball and a hockey team, like something like that.
Yes. Oh, man.
And I will be for real, I don't know if I remember the answer, but we're gonna see.
Would be the is Panthers one of them? Okay,
Panthers.
Panthers is one of
I'll
them.
count for you.
Thank you. Oh man, now I was like, do Stars and Cowboys because they both have a star? That isn't.
No, that's like their logo.
Yeah, that was cheating. Okay, so let's see. Giants.
Yes.
Okay. Not the Jets. Oh man. Oh, the Rangers. There we go. We got 3. You said 6. So I'm halfway. Gosh. These are fun. This wasn't on my bingo card this morning. I'm surprised by it. It's got to be the Eagles.
Wait.
Wait, is there Eagles? Like, Eagles is just a good one. You feel like Eagles has to have some
I actually don't think
No?
so. I don't think so. One of them you like kind of thought about. This is fun.
Warriors? Is that one?
No.
No? I'm thinking of ones that could just, like, now I'm just guessing.
Yeah.
They could be easily multiple sports. Not Colts. Not the Rams.
I will tell you, I know 4. I don't think I know the last 2. So if you can get 4, you can.
I can at least meet you.
Yeah.
What? Give me a hint.
There, if you think
Is it
about
an
it.
animal?
No.
Okay.
The team, I think you would not think about this team
Yeah.
because it's not like. I just don't think you'd think about them because it's like if you think this team, you think the U.S.
Oh.
But like.
Oh. So is it like I was thinking like Maple Leaves or like what's a so you think there's Canadian?
You have said it.
I have said it.
And then you're like, no, it's not that.
Really?
Yeah.
Colts? No. What did I say? You stumped me, man. This is getting hard. I did pretty good up until now. You just coming in at the wrong time. I said them.
You're like, oh, is it this? And you're like, oh no.
Jets. What is the Jets?
There
Who's
is.
the Jets
It's
on
on
the?
Jets hockey team.
Okay, so that's
The
4.
Jets.
We got 2 left.
I don't know.
Do you know the other
rest.
2?
I
Oh, we don't have it here? All right, we're going to poll the audience. If you can give us the last 2 of the Big 4 Major League sports venues, or excuse me, teams, that all share the same name, same mascot.
Yeah. And if you do, you get a prize. Your prize is I will like your comment.
Perfect.
And David might even like that.
Yeah, I would
And
say
David will like the
for
comment.
sure.
So you got Rangers and Jets.
Yep. We got Rangers, Jets, Giants.
Giants are baseballing.
And what was the other one? Oh,
Now we can't remember.
shoot.
I knew this one from Colin at one point.
Giants.
Kings.
Kings.
Oh, the
Kings.
Kings.
I said
Hockey and
Warriors, but yeah,
basketball.
Kings is one.
There's.
So that's 5 now that we've said out
5.
loud. All right, we got to leave the last one.
Yeah.
This is for you guys to
You
solve.
have to get this one.
Yeah.
If you don't.
Those are fun, though. I like a little trivia.
Yeah.
good.
That's all I have.
You know, I gotta tell you, Colby, you, I think you're natural at this process and interviewing. I think I can see you being a sideline reporter, doing some stuff in sports. Does that sound like it'd be
I
fun?
hope so. That's what I wanted.
Yeah.
So. hopefully.
Well, like I said, I think you're natural at it. You have a knack for it, and I look forward to tuning in and watching you with other guests.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Woo! That's a wrap.
Yeah.
Dude, unbelievable questions. Like,